Science has an answer to almost everything, but sometimes logic takes a holiday and awe takes over. Imagine a river that boils at 100 degrees Celsius, a forest with crooked trees, and a dry land where rocks move on their own. These mystifying places have left even the brainiest of scientists scratching their heads. Now it's your turn to get a dose of wonder, a pinch of confusion, and a whole lot of excitement as we reveal the most mysterious places that science cannot explain and will leave you speechless. Starting with the boiling river of Amazon. Are you thinking about a hot spring? No, this river is nothing like a hot spring or any other river that you know of. Located in Peru's Amazon, this river literally boils at about 100 degrees Celsius. Don't get it all twisted. The river is not a big pot of boiling water. Some parts are still comfortable enough for a quick dip, which will probably leave you feeling flushed because of the heat. At the same time, some parts are not in any way dip-friendly because they are actually boiling. It's no surprise that this river does not support any marine life and that the locals call it Shanai Timpishka, meaning boiled by the heat of the sun. But despite its poetic nomenclature, the true source of this river's heat has nothing to do with the sun. By logic, another explanation would be geothermal energy, just like it happens in hot springs. For starters, hot springs don't ever produce boiling water but warm water. Also, they get their heat from geothermal energy, a fact which points to the anomaly of Shanai Timpishka. You see, geothermal heating of groundwater is associated with proximity to active volcanoes or geothermal vents. However, this boiling river is situated far from any such volcanic activity. So, how exactly does the river get its heat? The prevailing scientific theory attributes the river's heat to the geothermal gradient of the Earth. As rainwater infiltrates the surface of the Amazon rainforest, it follows deep-rooted faults into the Earth's crust. Here, in this river, the water is believed to be heated significantly due to the geothermal gradient. In simpler words, the rainwater is heated as it descends into the crust, and it subsequently rises back to the surface through fault-fed hot springs. Make sense? If it doesn't, you're not alone. Even the residents of the community have different beliefs about this river. The river, located in the Mayantuyaku Sanctuary, an area where the Ashaninka people reside, is long believed to hold deep spiritual connections to a giant serpent spirit revered as the mother of the waters. The shamans especially view the river as a sacred entity, birthed from the depths of the earth by a powerful, life-giving force. But whatever you believe, you won't be tempted enough to go into this boiling water, unlike the glowing beach. Look at that. See how beautiful and inviting this beach looks at night. Unlike the boiling river, this place has a lot of animals in its depths. And guess what? These animals are the source of its glow. Little wonder we have not less than 10 of these beaches in the world. Many species of fish, shrimp, jellyfish, squid, and many others can create this effect called bioluminescence on beaches. This is why the depth of the ocean is usually not a completely dark place, even though there's very little sunlight in there. This bioluminescence is nothing like a flashlight attached to the animals' bodies, but a phenomenon that involves a chemical reaction inside the animal's cell. For some animals, those cells are located in a special light organ called a photophore that can look like a spotlight, while other organisms take on a more general glow. The reaction involves two molecules called luciferin and luciferase. When they react with oxygen, it produces light, which can be red, yellow, green, blue, or even violet. But when you view these lights in the ocean, it's usually blue-green. What's even more interesting is that this glow occurs with water waves, splashes, and movements in the water. So how do these animals control the timing of the glow? They control the movement of oxygen into cells containing luciferin and luciferase, thereby controlling the time they light up. Although most of these animals make this light, not all of them make their own luciferin or luciferase. Some of them get them by eating other bioluminescent organisms. while some have a symbiotic relationship with bioluminescent bacteria. As the bacteria live in and feed on the host, in return, they glow every time the host needs light. While it looks like the primary objective of these animals is to light up the water, they use the light as a defense mechanism to confuse their predators. That way, they have time to quickly escape before the predator recovers from the flash of light. In case you have always been scared of a glowing beach, now you know that only prey needs to run. In other news, what might make you run is the crooked forest. No doubt this forest looks like something out of a medieval fantasy movie. Relax, it's not that serious, but in all honesty, it's weird. This forest reportedly comprises about 400 pine trees, whose trunk features a sharp northward curve for 2 to 3 meters, followed by an upright posture. Although the claims of 400 weird-shaped trees have been debunked, and the crooked trees are said to be just about 100, it still doesn't answer the question of why we have trees that look like that in the first place. The facts are, the trees were planted between 1930 and 1945 at the time the area was still part of Germany's province of Pomerania. But what no one has been able to explain is why the trees are doing just fine, despite their rather abnormal growth, rising 50 feet above the forest floor. Although there are several theories as to how these trees acquired their unusual shape, none of them have ever been conclusively proven. The leading explanation is that the trees were intentionally manipulated by foresters during their early years, shaping them into their distinctive, curvy form. Their bent trunks would then be supposedly used as raw material by the local timber industry to create all sorts of furniture. Another speculation is that the wooded land sits in the middle of an area where the Earth's gravitational pull is excessively strong. Others have pointed to the heavy snow as the culprit whose weight bent the trees during their years as saplings. It seems we may never know why these trees are like that, even if we wander in them for too long. But where you don't want to stay for long is the Crystal Cave. You sure want to stay in a cave this amazing, but don't be deceived. It's more like a nightmare dressed like a daydream. But before we discuss that, how did this beautiful cave of crystals form? It's all thanks to gypsum, the main ingredient in drywall, which is frequently added to the water when brewing pale ale and India Pales. For thousands of years, humans have used this mineral, and there was absolutely nothing more to it. But it all changed in the 21st century when some miners discovered these massive gypsum pillars buried 984 feet beneath the Sierra de Nica mountain in Chihuahua, Mexico. Anchored to the walls and floor of a sweltering cave, the crystals went through at least 500,000 years of uninterrupted growth, leading to this Superman's Fortress of Solitude look-alike. Of course, it's so tempting that anyone would want to pack their bags for a visit. I'm sorry to inform you that the Crystal Cave is an inhospitable place. Since the discovery, the air temperature has climbed as high as 47.1 degrees Celsius, and the humidity levels are also close to 100%. The place was so humid that a visitor who lingered too long risked having fluids condense inside his or her lungs. Just so you know, that can be fatal, as it can lead to shortness of breath, coughing up foam, wheezing, chest tightness, and difficulty in breathing. You must agree, all of that is enough to drive you crazy. Talking about crazy, a place that can give you that feeling is the Magnetic Hill. This mysterious place has garnered worldwide attention for its perplexing phenomenon, where vehicles seemingly defy gravity and roll uphill without any power. Situated near the Leh Kargil Batalik National Highway, Ladakh Hill is said to have a magnetic power that pulls vehicles uphill, earning its name, Magnetic Hill. But does it really have magnetic energy? Contrary to popular belief, the Magnetic Hill in Ladakh is not a result of magnetic forces pulling vehicles uphill. Instead, it's an optical illusion caused by the layout of the surrounding landscape. Looking at the hill, it appears to be an uphill slope, but in reality, it is a downhill slope. The surrounding terrain creates a visual illusion that makes it seem like vehicles are moving uphill. In reality, they are rolling downhill due to the force of gravity. If you visit this place with your car, you will be advised to turn off your vehicle's engine and put it in neutral. Your vehicle will then appear to move uphill, giving the impression of defying gravity. However, it's merely rolling downhill along the slope. More explanation states that the magnetic hill is situated in a valley surrounded by mountains, and this creates a natural incline. When observing the landscape, the horizon appears to be tilted. This visual distortion tricks the brain into perceiving the downhill slope as an uphill slope. To make things worse, this place has no reference points. Without trees, buildings, or other objects to provide a frame of reference, it becomes challenging for the brain to accurately judge the slope of the terrain. In all honesty, this looks like a never-ending confusion that goes on and on, like the eternal flame falls. Just like the name implies, the eternal flame is a symbol of immortality, memory, and gratitude. The mysterious part of this is that there are flames under the waterfall that seem inextinguishable. This mystery has driven tourists from far and near to the site to witness the natural wonder of the fall. But is it truly nature flexing its muscles? Legend has it that a Native American lit the first flame eons ago. Others say that elves reside in this woodland, making the fire unquenchable. But of course, like any natural wonder, there is always an explanation. One thing to note is that there are 9 of these flames in the world, and the most famous is the Eternal Flame Falls in western New York. It is known to have first been formed during the Devonian period over 350 million years ago. While it takes on a rather magical appearance as it burns, it does not always stay lit. According to experts, strong winds or water may extinguish the fire, prompting locals and visitors to reignite the flame with matches or a lighter. The phenomenon, however, is the result of a macro seep, a spot in the ground where natural gas like methane, ethane, and propane escapes through cracks in the rock under pressure. These gases come out concentrated from about 400 meters below the surface, and all that it needs to burn is just a spark, thereby creating a lasting fire under the waterfall. Although this place looks pretty normal during the day, it's a different case at night, with the fire painting the scene as something scary. But staying here at night is nothing compared to visiting the Lake of Maracaibo. Imagine a place where lightning flashes and crackles almost every night, and to scare the living out of you, the lightning illuminates the sky enough to read a book. To tell you more, this lake gets up to 250 lightning strikes per square kilometer every night, which is equivalent to over 28 lightning strikes in a minute. Known as Lago de Maracaibo in Venezuela, this lake is South America's largest lake and the NASA-designated lightning capital of the world. Although the indigenous people of the area, the Wari, believed this to be the work of legions of fireflies paying tribute to God, science has another explanation and a name for it. The meteorological phenomenon is known as Catatumbo lightning, which is named so because the electrical storm activity centers near the mouth of the Catatumbo River, where it meets Lake Maracaibo. This lake is not new. It is actually one of the oldest on Earth, dating back 36 million years. According to history, it was an important route for ships to reach the ports of Cabimas and Maracaibo. And as for the lightning, it acted as a kind of beacon for navigators. However, the lightning wasn't recorded until 1826, when explorers and geographers such as Alexander von Humboldt of Prussia and Agustin Codazzi of Italy described their encounters with the electric display. Since then, scientists began to study more about this phenomenon, and soon there was an explanation for this. Naturally, lightning needs heat, humidity, and lots of wind. But here, the Andes, which is a mountain range, surrounds the lake and allows unique wind, cooling, and heating patterns to form. Water from the lake evaporates, and winds push the warm air toward the cold air in the mountains, creating towering cumulonimbus clouds. As a result, the collision of ice crystals and water droplets from the humidity causes the static and the eventual shocking display. According to experts, the energy emitted is enough to power over 100 million light bulbs and its heat is said to be 3 times hotter than our sun's surface. While lightning is not a never-seen-before phenomenon, the consistency of lightning in this area has become the focus of scientists. Initially, researchers in the 1960s believed that uranium or methane from nearby oil seepages created the effect. However, researchers have recently discovered that the moisture-bearing air in the area has something to do with it. During the experiment that led to the conclusion, experts sent weather balloons onto the lake and discovered that the moisture-bearing air also made the balloons rise very fast. Also, back in 2015, the lightning ceased from January to March, and it was traced to the extremely dry conditions that season. This means the drier the air, the lesser the lightning, and vice versa. The good thing is, as scary as the lightning looks, it does not pose any real threat to lakeshore residents. They are all so used to the sky lighting up every night and are only surprised to see tourists in awe and terror. Apart from the terrific lightning at the Lake of Maracaibo, one other terrifying discovery is the Eye of the Sahara. When seen from above, it looks like a giant bullseye, which makes it really terrifying. But the Eye of Sahara is nothing as squishy as an eye. It is a giant rock dome carved with concentric rings. It is also called the Rishat structure. The name Rishat is derived from the Arabic word rashat, which means to encircle or surround because of its circular structure. This structure is estimated to range from 25 to 31 miles in diameter. Initially, scientists believed that the structure was a result of an impact from a meteor, while many people believed it was an alien-made structure. However, subsequent research found the dome was shaped by tectonic uplift during the Cretaceous period, between 145 to 66 million years ago, and laid bare through erosion. As flat as it may seem, the Eye of Sahara towers about 660 feet above the surrounding sands. Since the discovery in the 1950s, the reason why the eye is so round remains unclear. But as a reward, excavations of the site have unveiled 2-million-year-old Acheulean and pre-Acheulean tools that are associated with 2 species of ancient human ancestors, Homo erectus and Homo heidelbergensis. This suggests that there were human activities on the structure, a confirmation that it was not an alien-made structure as speculated by some people. Talking about aliens, the perfect location for such theories is the Zone of Silence. For years, this area, also known as Mapimi Silent Zone, has been home to tales of aliens and military cover-ups. But is it really a modern-day fairy tale? If local legends are to be believed, this place is supposedly home to groups of supermodel alien Vikings, and the name? It's called La Zona del Silencio, or the Zone of Silence, because the urban myths say the place is filled with magnetic waves so strange and unique that radio transmissions and communication signals cannot be transmitted. Mystical, right? Well, the area has definitely had quite a few visitors from outer space over the years. But the only thing is that none of these visitors have been tall and blonde, but round and rocky instead. Per count, at least 3 different meteorites hit the area across barely the same number of decades in the 20th century. One happened in 1938, the next was in 1954, which surprisingly hit the same ranch as its predecessor, and then a third came in 1969. These meteorite hits are strange, but those were not the strangest things to ever happen at the Mapimi Silent Zone. In July 1970, when the U.S. Air Force sent an Athena rocket out of Green River, Utah, and into the upper atmosphere of the planet, instead, it crash-landed in the heart of the Zone of Silence. Till today, no one knows why the rocket went so far off course, but it only solidified the imaginations of people about this place for decades to come. About the area being so disruptive to radio signals, the locals blame underground deposits of magnetite, plus debris from the meteorites, for interfering with transmissions. But scientific researchers in the region have a different answer. According to them, they have never experienced any trouble with either their radios or compasses while working there. This shows that the Zone of Silence has been long misunderstood, just like The blue hole. This great hole looks beautiful and creepy at the same time. It looks like a hole ready to swallow up anything that goes near it, but that's far from the truth. The blue hole is an underwater sinkhole located just 100 kilometers off the coast of Belize and the largest of its kind. It is characterized by a rich blue color, and it is over 300 meters across and 125 meters deep. Surrounding the hole is an island of coral called Lighthouse Reef. The sinkhole originally formed a long time ago as a limestone cave during the last glacial period, when sea levels were much lower. But as the ocean began to rise, the cave system flooded and eventually collapsed, creating a vertical cave in the ocean. But while there's a deep cave there, it is one of the safest spots for divers. This hole has attracted so many divers, one of whom is an undersea explorer, Jacques Cousteau, who made the site famous in 1971. Jacques declared the site one of the top 10 best diving places in the world. He also confirmed that the sinkhole had indeed originated from a limestone cave formation after discovering huge stalactites and stalagmites below the surface, with some reaching 9 to 12 meters in length. Before we proceed, let's discuss our subscriber's pick. This place is called the Land of Sin, a place of abundance. Although no one knows where this is, it reminds us of the biblical desert of sin. According to the Bible, while the Israelites have wandered around for so long, they got to a desert near Mount Sinai, and they got really hungry. They complained bitterly to Moses, who prayed to his God for supplies. Surprisingly, it rained food called manna from heaven, so much so it was too much for them to exhaust. For a long time, the manna rained non-stop till the Israelites got sick of eating this particular food. Today, the Desert of Sin is said to be the Zin Desert, and it is rumored that mysterious things still happen in this place. What do you think about this place? Let us know in the comment section as we show you the next mysterious place that science cannot explain and will leave you speechless. Double Tree of Casorzo. Well, this is not about two trees beside each other, but two trees stacked on each other. While it is common to see trees used as a growing platform by other types of plants, such as creepers and moss, it is rare to see two living trees stacked on each other. This double tree is in the rural community of Casorzo near Turin, giving it its name, Double Tree of Casorzo. This tree features a cherry tree that grows out of a mulberry tree's trunk, like it would on soil. No one knows how this natural marvel came to being, but the wide speculation is that a bird dropped a cherry kernel right on top of the mulberry tree, where all its main branches intersect. Over the years, the cherry tree rapidly grew by sacking nutrients out of its host, while also extending its roots down to the ground. The most shocking part is that the cherry tree is growing well with its branches extending up to 5 meters in length. But while the Double Tree of Casorzo is fascinating, what you will most likely find scary is the moving rock of Death Valley. Although rocks don't have legs, they can move through the intervention of humans or animals. However, these rocks move all the time, with nothing pushing them. Welcome to Death Valley National Park, one of the strangest places in the world. This park is known as the hottest place on Earth, and on top of that, it sits at the driest and lowest elevation in North America. However, the strangest feature of all is the mysterious racetrack playa. Here, rocks drift across the flat desert landscape, seemingly propelled by no power other than their own. The stones slowly move across the surface of the playa, leaving a track as they go, without human or animal intervention. Although people have visited this place several times, no one has ever seen the rocks in motion until recently. These stones are said to move once every 2 or 3 years, and most tracks last for 3 or 4 years. Stones with rough bottoms leave straight tracks, while those with smooth bottoms wander. As if that was not creepy enough, sometimes the stones turn over, exposing another edge to the ground and leaving a different-sized track in the stone's wake. These stones are a fraction of the surrounding mountains of the area that tumbled down due to the forces of erosion, and once they get to the level surface, they somehow move horizontally, leaving tracks behind them to record their path. Some rocks have left behind trails as long as 1,500 feet, suggesting that they've moved a long way from their original location. Since its discovery in the 1900s, several theories have been suggested to explain their mysterious movements. However, in 2014, scientists were able to capture the movement of the stones for the first time using time-lapse photography. The results show that the moving rocks are the result of a perfect balance of ice, water, and wind. In the winter of 2014, rain formed a small pond that froze overnight and thawed the next day, creating a vast sheet of ice that was reduced by midday to only a few millimeters thick. Driven by a light wind, this sheet broke up and accumulated behind the stones, slowly pushing them forward. Before you breathe a breath of relief, let's talk about fairy rings. These creepy, wide rings have folklores that are creepier than they look. In English and Celtic folklore, fairy rings were caused by fairies or elves dancing in a circle. However, in German folklore, things took a more sinister turn, as fairy rings were actually known as witches' rings. It was believed they were the place where witches would dance on Walpurgis Night, a spring celebration taking place exactly 6 months before Halloween. There are lots more mythical stories surrounding fairy rings, including beliefs that they are portals to another world. However, scientists have explained the fairy rings, also known as elf rings or pixie rings, to be naturally occurring circles made up of mushrooms. The rings are caused by an individual fungus growing underground. The fungus sprouts lots of small threads, called mycelium, in a circular shape, and after a year, follows mushrooms at the edge of the circle, creating the fairy ring. At the beginning of the growth, the circle will start small in size, but as the mushroom gets older, the circle gets bigger. No doubt, the fairy rings are definitely an exciting discovery, but if you ever come across one, make sure you don't touch the mushroom. Not because the myth says you will be trapped in the land of fairies, but because some of the mushrooms can be poisonous. Next is Rainbow Mountain. If you love rainbows, you should find your way to Peru. At least you don't have to wait for the rainfall to see one. This mountain has 7 colors, just like the rainbow, and the best part is that there are 3 of them in Peru. The most famous is Vinicunca, and the other 2 are Palcoyo and Pale Punchu. All 3 mountains are renowned for their vibrant colored strata, created by the sedimentation of minerals over millions of years. This Vinicunca mountain has existed for a long time in the Cusco region of Peru, but no one knew of its beauty until 2013, when the ice that had always covered the mountain melted away. When it began to melt, the water mixed with minerals in the ground turned the mountain into the many colors you see today, revealing colors that include red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and white. Almost like the rainbow, huh? The red and orange areas are due to rust mixtures. Yellows are due to iron sulfide. Purples are from goethite or oxidized limonite. Blues are from azurite and malachite minerals. Whites from quartz and calcite minerals, and greens come from chlorite. The Rainbow Mountain is all shades of amazing, just like the tomb of Qin Shi Huang. Tombs are known to hold secrets of past humans, but the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first Chinese emperor, holds more than a secret. Back in 1974, when farmers were digging for a well, they found this tomb with several ceramic figures of warriors. These life-sized figures, known as terracotta warriors, looked unlike any tomb figures that had been known before. They are believed to be representations of the emperor's military might. This is because he may have conquered his wars with his army of over 500,000 men and ordered the creation of these figures to guard his tomb. In addition to the clay soldiers, Qin Shi Huang's underground realm is also populated by delightfully realistic waterfowl, crafted from bronze and serenaded by terracotta musicians. The emperor's clay retinue includes terracotta officials and even troops of acrobats, slightly smaller than the soldiers, but created with the same methods. Initially, it was believed that the emperor only took the clay army with him, but it later became clear that he actually took a whole political system with him. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.